Hello. Hello, my friends, it's Tess. This is Wander Wealthy, and today I am covering a minorly controversial topic. Let's be real, it's not that controversial, at least when I talk about it. I feel like when big name people talk about it, then it gets a little bit more, I don't know, debated upon. But I don't know, we'll see how you all react. But today I wanted to talk about why you should not buy a home and you should keep on renting. So we have officially wrapped up the no spend challenge. We did a month of no spending in various different ways, and if you want to learn more about how to do your own no spend challenge or tips and tricks and strategies, you can just click up here in the playlist and join the Wealthy Wanderers private Facebook community to kick off your own no spend challenge. But on the heels of that, I wanted to figure out what topic to cover over the month of June, because I found that it was super fun to create content that kind of revolved around one topic in the same period of time. In the past, I've kind of been hopping around doing all these different types of content, and I really just wanted to hammer down on one topic and really focus for a month period. So this month, I decided to take to the Wealthy Wanderers private Facebook group and ask what they wanted to know about buying a home/home ownership. And I got a response. Well, I got a lot of really great ideas, and so that'll be coming out. But one of the comments is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about, and that is whether you should even buy a home in the first place and why you might want to rent and making the case for renting from a financial perspective. I'm giving you 10 reasons why you should not buy a home and keep on renting. And I'm super excited to talk about it. If you follow along with my channel, if you are a returning subscriber, then you probably know that I actually own a home. And to be quite honest, sometimes I wish I didn't. And sometimes I don't think it's a good financial decision. I feel like I've put myself in a position that, at least rationally from a financial perspective, made it worthwhile, but there's definitely reasons why some people should not buy a home. And my big motivation behind this is because I see so much pressure on people, especially those in their 20s and 30s, to go to school, graduate from school, get a job, fall in love, and then buy a home. Or, you know, maybe not in that order, but it's always like, okay, now that you finally have an income, you should do something smart with that money, aka purchase a house. And I don't know why that has become the norm, but it's definitely because it has historically been part of our American dream. But to be honest, I think the American dream is changing, and I don't think that many people, in fact most people, should buy a home. And I also don't think for a lot of people that it is a financially wise investment. So I'm gonna talk about that today, and I just want you to know, if you feel that peer pressure, whether you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, you don't need to buy a home. It is okay to rent, and in fact, I'm gonna give you 10 reasons why financially you can come up with your own arguments as to why you have no need to actually purchase a home. Let's dive into it. I know this was a long intro, but I am passionate about this topic, if you cannot tell. Also, I have to go to a workout class in 30 minutes, so I don't have a lot of time. Okay, reason number one is that buying a home costs a lot of money. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty details. I'll probably do that in another video this month. And by the way, if you have questions around home buying, home ownership, etc., 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 comment below. Just plop your questions below. The earlier you put them in, the sooner I will get to them, especially if you want to see them this month in June 2018. Anyway, buying a home is expensive. Not only do you have to come up with the down payment, and yes, there are ways you don't necessarily have to put that much of a down payment down, but beyond just putting that down payment down, you also have to pay closing costs. So the actual act of buying a home is a lot more than we think it is. A lot of people come and ask me, how much do I need to save, and what are your saving strategies for saving for a down payment? But it goes beyond the down payment. You have to pay, on an average home in a metropolitan area in the United States, it's usually about $10,000 in closing cost fees. So that's a lot of money to come up with beyond the down payment. By the way, if you do not pay 20% down, you also have to pay additional costs on your mortgage payment. Buying a home is expensive, whether you put a down payment of 20% or you pay in cash, but a lot of people aren't financially prepared to do that, or you just put like 3% down. It's expensive when you actually sit down and make that purchase. Number 2 is that you are locked into a monthly contractual agreement that you have to make these payments every single month in order to pay the mortgage on your home. And if you don't make those payments, you lose your home. That is like huge. I think that, you know, there's a lot of people who buy homes that are way too expensive for them, and another video will be coming for how to figure out how much you can actually afford when it comes to a home, but a lot of people make the mistake of getting approved for a loan that is far too expensive for what they can actually maintain in their life. If you lose your job, if a huge emergency happens, if you do not have an emergency savings fund properly saved for you for all those other things in life that are expensive, then you might not be able to make those payments on your home, and you don't have the luxury of being able to just get out of your rental contract, or maybe, you know, talk to your landlord about missing a couple months. You have to make those payments, and if you don't, you lose a huge piece of collateral that you've put up, which is the equity that you may have had in your house. That's bad news bears. So it's very risky in certain situations if you do not have like a regular income, or you're at high risk of just other big expenses of your life. Yikes. Number 3 reason why you might still want to rent is that when you buy a home, you are not only financially locked in, but you could also be physically locked in. And yes, I own a home, and I also travel, and I currently live in Italy. I don't live in the home that I own. I have made it doable so that I'm not physically locked into the home that I own, but I actually bought the home knowing that that was the plan. A lot of people probably don't do this, where they go into buying a home and think, well, then I can just move in a couple years, because if you're physically locked into your home, if you can't rent it out, if you have no way of, you know, getting that mortgage paid for, then you're probably going to feel obliged to stay in your home. Maybe you do want to move somewhere new. Maybe you want to move to a new country or a new state, or you just want a new home. It takes a lot longer for you to turn that home over, to either turn it into a rental property if you aren't in an ideal location, or to turn it over by selling it, and so you will be more physically locked into that location. Reason number 4, it's better to rent than to buy, is that owning a home also means you have to pay for all the other things that you now own inside that home. So not only are you paying your mortgage and your insurance and homeowners dues and taxes on a monthly basis, you're also paying for maintenance and repairs and replacing your HVAC system, or your water heater, or the roof that is leaking over your head. And believe me, those things ain't cheap. When you rent, you don't really have to worry about these things. If you have a good landlord, they replace all of that for you in the nick of time. And if you don't have a good landlord, move out. They owe you money. If your heater is broken and they don't fix it within a reasonable period of time, you can get money from them. And if you can't, then just leave and get a new place, because that is not a good living situation. But that's beside the point. When you rent, you don't have to worry about that stuff, and I promise you that stuff is expensive. On average, you should be budgeting about 1 to 3% of the cost of your home. So let's say your home is $500,000, which would be a good expensive home. Then you're gonna have to budget at least $5,000 per month for the repairs and the maintenance that you're going to have to make on that home. And that's a lot of things that people just do not anticipate when they go and buy a home, because they're so excited to just be homeowners and get the keys and all that stuff. My 5th reason why you can absolutely keep on renting and you do not need to buy a home is because buying a home is still throwing money away. Now hear me out. People always say that they're so sick of throwing money away when they're paying rent. But when you step back and think about it, or if you've ever had the experience of owning a home, there's still a ton of money being thrown out the window. When you rent, you pay a landlord a fixed rate to rent out your place. When you own a home, you have to pay interest on your mortgage. There's some money that's being thrown away. You have to pay taxes every year, more money that's being thrown away. You have to pay largely association dues and pay for that like sewer and water stuff that you definitely don't even have to think about when you rent, usually. Not all the time, but usually. And even if your rental costs include all the utility bills, then when you own a home, you have to pay for those all individually as well. On top of that, all of the repairs and the maintenance costs that you typically don't pay when you are renting, they're being thrown away when you own a home, because Yes, you might be making slight improvements to your home, but if you continually have to make those repairs year after year after year as you own your home, then you're just replacing the washing machine that you bought for yourself 7 years ago. Where if you continue to rent in the future, then every time your washing machine breaks down, someone else replaces it for you. So although when you own a home, you feel like, well, at least a small amount of my money is going into this thing that I'm going to be able to build equity with and own someday, technically most of the money is being paid towards the government or paid in interest towards your mortgage. And eventually, when you do have your mortgage paid off, you're still gonna have to pay taxes, and you're still gonna have to pay HOA dues, and you're still gonna have to pay insurance. And again, all that money is pretty much the same as paying rent. Number 6 is that if you want an updated place to live and you are a homeowner, you either have to wait and sell your home and hope that you make money on it, and then find a new home and pay closing costs, or you have to make the updates and the improvements yourself, which just costs you a lot more money. When you're a renter, you just get out of your rental lease and you get into a new one. It's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to upgrade your life, as long as you can afford it, of course. You do it from one rental contract to another. It's a lot easier from your time, from your money, from just dealing with the headaches. Renting kind of solves the problems. The number 7 reason to rent instead of buy a home is that you can get a lot more time back into your life. Owning a home takes time. You have to worry about the repairs and the maintenance and check on things, but you also have to do things like landscaping, mowing your lawn, cleaning out the gutters, cleaning your house very diligently. It's so funny, but when you own a home, you pay a lot more attention to how dirty your front door is or how gross the baseboard is becoming. And you spend a lot more time on your hands and knees scrubbing that shit off. When you rent, you just don't really think about it. And yeah, maybe you do clean because you want to live in a clean home, but I think owning carries with it a lot more responsibility of knowing that you need to keep this asset that you now own in tip-top shape, and that just takes a lot of time. And if you don't spend time doing that, then you're definitely budgeting for that. And when you're a renter, you don't necessarily have to take care of the maintenance of keeping the lawn nice and clean or do deep cleaning. You can usually negotiate with your landlord to make sure that that is included in your rental fees, or that they just take care of that for you. The number 8 reason why you can rent and do not need to buy is that you can still have equity. And I think a lot of people feel pressured to buy a home because they need to build equity, but you can absolutely build equity without building equity in a piece of real estate. You can build equity in real estate stocks, even by investing in real estate investment trusts. So you can still own real estate in a sense, but just doing it through the stock market, and that way you have easier access to that money and you can make sure that your portfolio is diversified. Which leads me to reason number 9, not to own a home and to rent instead, because when you own a home, especially if you're young and you're kind of a first-time home buyer and you don't have an enormous net worth because we haven't had a lot of time to save up for it, then more than likely a huge portion of your wealth is going to be tied up in real estate, in this one asset, and you're going to continue to put money into it as you pay your mortgage off. Well, when you do that, then a huge portion of your wealth is undiversified because it's in real estate, and then the rest might be in investments and other types of savings vehicles or just liquid cash. For the most part, your portfolio of wealth is not very well diversified. And if you've watched any of my investing videos in the past, or you've taken the money program, then you know why this can be a problem to your ability to retire rich with the proper risk portfolio and at the highest return possible. And my 10th reason why you can absolutely continue renting and do not need to go buy a home is because people often think that buying a home is a good investment because they're someday gonna sell their home and then get this great return on the sale. I'm sure you've heard people brag about how their grandma bought a home for $30,000 and now it's worth $1.5 million, but it's probably over the span of 50, 60, 70 years. And when you do the math, it kind of boils down to either being a wash with investing in the stock market or not really making that great of a return at all. I mean, inflation is a thing, and so your home will likely keep up with inflation, but it's still not that great of an investment. Historically speaking, if you're looking at average annual returns in the stock market, you can make a great return investing there for the long term, just like you would invest in a home, but you also don't have to deal with all the maintenance costs, the closing costs on the sale, additional fees that go into buying and selling your home, as well as paying taxes every single year. Yes, eventually you will have to pay capital gains tax on your investments and income tax as well, but that money is going to be your income if you look at it as a retirement solution, whereas your home is just a home that isn't paying you any money year over year over year, like an investment account is. Okay, so those are my 10 reasons why you can absolutely continue renting over buying a home. And I know that a lot of these points are gonna come up for debate. You know what? It's completely up to you. Everyone has their own personal situation. Some people just wanna own a home. And if you just wanna own a home, then by golly, own a home. I think that it was important for me to make this video because I know so many people who, even a lot of the members that join the Wealthy Wanderers private community, tell me that their goal within the next year is to save up a down payment for a home. And I don't know why everyone has a goal to own a home, except that I think people feel pressured that is just feels like that's the right next financial step for them to take. And of course, if it feels right for you, then do it. But if you're on the fence and you feel pressured to, then there's absolutely no reason that you need to. So that's all I have for you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions about home ownership or home buying, pop them in the comment section below. Remember, I am not anti-buy a home. There's plenty of good reasons to buy a home, and I'm gonna be sharing throughout the rest of this month a bunch of additional tips on how to get a mortgage, what to look for in a home, how to go about actually buying a home. Don't worry, there's plenty more to come if you are pro home ownership. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the button over there and the little bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos, otherwise you might miss something. And if you wanna join the conversation even further, come to the Wealthy Wanderers. Go to wanderwealthy.com/FB to get in there, and I can't wait to see you. Until then, I hope you wander wealthy.